back for another to buy or not to buy. Here we frankly are going to roast palettes, and we're going to talk about why we're not going to need any of them, why we can do probably 99.9% if not all of them. And I'm going to also use Micka Beauty Shop's Glacier palette for this look, because Micka Beauty Shop is doing a few releases. We are having this gingerbread candle. It's a little bit Christmassy, I suppose, but I kind of wanted cookie smell around the house, so I was like, let's do it. And I also, of course, have my coffee. I recommend you get your coffee, juice, water, dinner, drink, snack, whatever you need, and let's get started. And beauties, I use mostly Makeup on Your Radar's channel on Instagram and a few other channels, and the link to all of them are in the description box below to make content for this video. Let's do it. So the first thing I want to talk about is Colourpop. I think I talked about the Twilight release last week, and beauties, I've duped that. Wait for the dupe video. I actually think my dupe is way better than the OG, but of course my dupe is gonna have some multichromes and so on. I'm so enjoying duping palettes, beauties. I can't rave enough about that. But they also released this one, right? And it seems like a lot of people are talking about it. This is their Valentines release. Beauties, I don't need any of these, and you also don't. First of all, the palette is literally a copy of $200 palettes that Colourpop has had in the past. What was that? The cherry palette that I have, that is brand new, that I'm planning on selling on Mercari, looks essentially like a snippet of this. That one is a 9pan, but literally pink and red. And then the palette they released last year for Valentine, I don't remember the name, but that one was also more or less the same thing. Like, why do you need this? And then if we want to go even further, their Strawberry Dream palette, a lot of other palette, honestly, some of their 9pans, all dupes of this. Just look through the makeup you already have. You probably have a dupe of this. I mean, I feel like I can dupe this palette 5 times with my singles. Glossy lips, no, I'm not a huge gloss fan. I want to get more into gloss this year to use the glosses that I have, and I do not need any more of that. The Heart Compacts, I'll be honest with you, was something that when they came out, I was kind of like, I kind of want to have one, but I don't need one. I rarely even put blush on my cheeks. And if I wanted to do that, I already have a lot of other Colourpop blushes. The sponge is cute. I love that it changes color, but I never use sponge. I'm not going to buy something just to look at it. And the Jelly Matte Shadows, beauties, I, in the past, had bought collections from Colourpop that came with Jelly Matte Shadows, and they just literally dried. It's just, I never used them. So no, I'm not buying this. I don't need any of this, and neither do you. Already said enough about that. Let's move on. It's Spell Cosmetic has sneak peeked this. I'm curious because it seems like it's going to be about the phases of the moon and, you know, the names of shades. And then also they released a quote, "Darling, the moon is still the moon in all its phases." So I'm curious to see what it looks like, but I can guarantee you that I can dupe it. At this point in time, I feel like there's very few things that I can't dupe. Sonia G brush set. Did we talk about this? No, I don't think we talked about this. This is Keyaki Kakishibu. Brushes combine Keyaki wood handles and goat bristles. They've been dyed with Kakishibu, which is persimmon tannin dye. 6 brushes. Do I have a price? Because yes, I do, beauties. First of all, this is already available and it's $240. So heck no. What is that? $40 a brush? I think $15 a brush is too expensive. It's insane to me, beauties. How do brands think this kind of price is justified? I'm not buying. I have enough brushes. Moving on, let's talk about this one. The Kaleidoscope Multichromes available from Electrum Cosmetics, and this just released yesterday from the day I'm filming. These are kind of cute. The issue with these marble shades, I've talked about them plenty of time before, is that, you know, if you swirl them, you're gonna get a neutral color because that's what you get when you mix primary shades. So is it gonna look like that if you swatch it? And very strategically, I don't have a swatch. because, you know, it kind of looks cute when you just dab it, but if you swatch it and you're going to just get silver or sort of a metallic creamy shade, then you might change your mind about whether you need it. So, not buying. Wicked Widow Beauty has sneak peeked this. And frankly, I like some of Wicked Widow Beauty's color stories from before. I've talked about wanting to buy the Edward Scissorhand, one of the Edward Scissorhand palette. I never lucked out of being able to get to it when it was available. But they do have very nice color stories. I don't think they've revealed the palette yet, but I'm curious to see what it looks like. Terra Moon's Space Chemistry has released. I mentioned I'm not buying it. What was it, 70 something dollars? I don't want to spend that kind of money. Also, I'm gonna no buy, but even after the no buy, I'm probably not gonna buy. Makeup Eraser is releasing Strawberry Fields for 7 days. You know, they have 7 towelettes that you can use. Beauties, Costco has Makeup Eraser, and I've purchased them a few times that I've seen them at Costco, and I don't use them. I should start using them. That's going to be one of my resolutions this year, to use my makeup erasers, because I should start using them, because if they're really good, maybe I need them. Maybe I can save some money on buying, you know, cotton pads if I use this. So not buying this one, but this is a reminder for me to use the things that I have. Okay, let me get started by using this Hydra-grip primer. One thing I've noticed about this Hydra-grip primer is that it does a little bit make some of the mattes on my eyes patchy. I'm still trying to get a hold of it because I haven't had it for that long. So, you know, that could be for a few reasons. It's either a little too liquidy, or I need to let it set and dry a little longer on my eyes, or that's just how it behaves. And, you know, maybe it's not the best primer for my eyes. And you might even be able to see what I'm talking about in my last video, the video where I do 2 eye looks with the dupe that I did of Cold Moon. And because of that, I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. But let's talk about this one. This is from Electrum Cosmetics, and it already released. I really like to try Electrum Cosmetics at some point so that I can develop an opinion of how it compares to other brands that have multichromes, because Electrum Cosmetics is known as a brand that has very cool multichromes. But am I gonna go buy a palette? Because the challenge of buying a palette is usually you're not gonna be using every single shade in the palette as much as you're paying for the palette. So it's much more worth buying singles. I also don't have a price for this, but I have a feeling this is probably an expensive palette, you know, £9. Also, I have all of these. I have a dupe of all of these shades. Like, I don't see anything in here that I'm like, this is so unique. A few of these are just standard black-based multichromes. I feel like I have all of these. I shouldn't even spend time talking about it. Let's move on. Okay, I want to talk about this one because this kind of caught my attention. This is from MAC. They call these Jelly Slime All Over Highlighter. And it's already released and available. I don't know why. The name slime doesn't make me attracted to want to use something on my face. Definitely not on my eyes. I don't know. I would like to know what you all think. Let's get started because we could be here for the whole day. I'm going to just jump in and go into this beautiful blue. Let's do a blue look. And I'm going to get the blue over here. So beauties, I had mentioned to you all that the texture and the quality of Micka Beauty Shop I'm a fan of overall, and it also reminds me very much of some other brands that I've used. I think they're all produced in PRC. I think they're all private labeled. The other brands are Bella Beauty Bar, Saint Angel Sinners, and I also recently realized Gloss Gods, which is also made in PRC, has a very similar consistency and quality. So just letting you all know, because a lot of times you might see the same kind of color between these different brands, and maybe you don't need all of them, right? What I love about Micka Beauty Shop is that it has very, very colorful palettes, amazingly nice color stories. Look at the pigmentation. And I have done depotting of some of the shades in some of their palettes because I think to myself those shades are super unique and I might want to use them in custom made palettes. The only thing is that when I depot them and I take the pan out, the pans are not magnetic. For example, do I have a lot of blues that look like this? I don't think so. This is such a beautiful ocean blue. Okay, continuing beauties. I have to talk about this, of course, because I love Clionadh nail lacquers, although we're on a no buy, but hey, you can be on a diet, doesn't mean you can't check the menu. So this is their mixology, I'm guessing the Printemps edition or the Spring edition, Saison d'amour or Season of Love, which is perhaps designed for Valentine's Day, kind of evident from that those glasses are heart-shaped and the chocolate that's also kind of heart-shaped. And of course, also the colors. These colors are Sunrise Mimosa, Peach Bellini, Rosé Sangria, Pink Starburst, Blackberry Bramble, New York Sour. I'm guessing these are also all drink names, similar to their other mixology collections that they released in the past 2 seasons. But I don't know if there are repeats here, because I know they had, you know, a lot of golds in the past and some pinks in the past. It says it's all new, so maybe not. And they say they have everything from iridescent to rosy tones. So I'm, of course, super excited. On a no-buy until April, so can't and will not break that. Don't have that kind of a need for nail lacquers. Probably have very similar colors to these, might even have similar colors to these in my Clionadh collection. So not buying, but I can definitely enjoy looking at them from afar. And Clionadh also usually does actual swatch videos on their YouTube channel. So if you are kind of curious, you can check that out. Glaminatrix Beauties is coming out with 4 new multichromes at $17 each. This might be 17 Australian dollars, just keep that in mind. Bloodstone Aster, Sundown Garnet, and Anatrine. You all know I'm a huge Glaminatrix fan, but I don't need anything. And honestly, as much as I love looking at these, I really think I have these colors in other brands. The only one that kind of captures my attention that I'm like, this is kind of unique, is the last one, which is a peach to an orange. But I think I even have a dupe of that. I have so much makeup. There's no way I don't have a dupe of this. That's why I'm on a no-buy, so that I can spend time figuring out what I have a dupe of. So not buying, you're not buying either. You don't need this. Let's talk about Pretties for your face. Oh God, everybody's doing hollows. Did I? I don't remember what I predicted. I talked about it in my video, in a video where I did the tag, and the last question was predictions. I'll put that video below. Did I say there's going to be more holochromes? I think I said there's going to be more holochromes. And I was expecting more holochromes, but not this much. We're going to see a few more holochromes. I just don't know why brands are doing this, because I'm already over holochromes. We don't need so much holochromes. They were doing 6 shades, megachromes and holochromes. I mean, Pretties for Your Face is a brand I like to try this year because it's one of those brands that completely goes with what I do in this channel, but not hollows. Not hollows. So beauties, there are differences between holochromes from brands to brands, and even holochromes that the same brand releases. There are some brands like Glaminatrix where the holochrome is not just holochrome, but it's actually a multichrome under it. So you can see the purple shift to a teal shift or something like that. And then also holographic effect over it. But then there are some brands like Touch of Glam where it just looks holochromy and a bunch of colors in it. I'm not a big fan of the second kind for me. And frankly, at the moment, I'm just not a fan of holochromes. I feel like I have enough holochromes. I feel like we've seen enough holochromes. The world does not need this much holochrome. Okay, let me quickly pick this one. This is EO2. So the name of that first color was Snowflake. The name of this one is Zero. I'm going to just continue with the blue effect. I also kind of want to see how this matte dark blue looks, because getting matte dark blues right is a challenge. They're usually dry and patchy. So you see, I'm even getting creasing. I don't know if you can see that with the blue. And then patchiness also. This to me is a result of the primer. I haven't seen this happen when I use other primers. So I don't know. This primer might be too liquid for my eyelids. I like very dry primers, like because I have hooded eyes. I want things that are just sticking to your eye. Beauties, let's talk about Notoriously Morbid because they are also having a few releases. The first thing I want to talk about, I think, is their Valentine Day release, which is this one, Love Fool, a 12 pan palette that's gorgeous. It released yesterday from the day I'm filming on the 26th. The only shade in this palette that kind of has me going, is that goldy kind of iridescent multichrome shade. But I'm not going to go buy a palette for one shade. I just want to see what's going to be a dupe of that so that I know for sure I can dupe this palette. I don't think you need it, but if you're buying it, use someone's code. So beauties, let's talk about DD's Signature because they have a few releases. One of them is Blooming Basket. I think I talked about it briefly last week, but we didn't know the color story. We just knew that they're going to redo the mattes. Now they've revealed the palette, and honestly, you don't need it. I don't need it. We can dupe this. We probably have a dupe of this. Also, it has pastels. I don't want pastels. I already have way more pastels than I use. Also, their Guava eyeshadow quad, which is cute, but definitely dupeable. In fact, it's one of those palettes that makes me want to dupe it. Normally, I would tell you that mint to blue shade in the Guava palette is so beautiful and it's capturing my heart. But I know I have a dupe of it. I might even have multiple dupes of it. And now that we're talking about DD Signature, let's also talk about some of their holochromes. Yes, beauties. They are also doing holochromes. They have soft hollows, of which there are 3, and then metal foils. I already told you what I feel about holochromes. I do not need. I'm gonna now use E07 from Singe, and I'm gonna use this color, Mountain. It's a beautiful, cool toned green. And this is gonna go under my lower lash line. And then let's use a little bit of Larimar. This is also a super beautiful teal color. I'm trying to keep it cool toned, which is why I'm not using Ice Crystals, which is sort of a limey green. Unearthly has a mystery box for Valentine's Day. They have disclosed that it's gonna have 12 full-size cosmetic items and tools designed for those who crave vibrant, bold colors and make a statement. It's priced at $145. You know my opinion of mystery bundles. If you don't know my opinion, I'm going to tag a couple of videos I've done about mystery bundles in the description box below, but not in the market for mystery bundle now or pretty much ever. But I do have to say, Unearthly Cosmetics has beautiful color stories, but I don't need anything right now, and neither do you. Continuing on the holochrome craze, Touch of Glam Beauty's adding more holochromes to his holochrome collection. What is this, like the 5th release that they have? I'm not the biggest fan of Touch of Glam holochromes, and I'm just going to leave it at that. They are disclosing that there is going to be a sale on them, and that's not going to make me want to buy them. I feel like they're way overpriced, and they're holochromic, which is not anything I want anymore. I have enough holochromes. You know, there was a time late 2022, early 2023, where I would get excited by holochromes. I feel like now it's just, we've overdone holochromes. We're over it. Let's talk about this one, beauties, because this kind of caught my attention. Reckless Romance palette from Beauty Bay. And I know I mentioned in my tag video that of my surprise that Beauty Bay kind of just hasn't been doing a whole lot. And they're now back with a vengeance, it seems. And to be honest with you, this is a beautiful palette. This palette very much reminds me of the Chucky palette that Glamlight released last year, which ended up becoming one of my favorite palettes of last year. So can't say I don't love the color story. There are some dupes in this palette. I think they could have done a little bit less of the pink mauve colors and added a true blood red. I said this about Chucky as well. That palette needs a blood red. And we talked about Notoriously Morbid, but let's also talk about this one because this kind of caught my attention. They are releasing a few other things. One is Heart's Desire Glitter Quad. And when I saw this, I thought this is an actual marbled eyeshadow. And as much as I have my own thoughts about my marbled shadows, if they had released these and these were marbled shade, they could totally capture my heart. Because it just looks so beautiful, you know? And I would have wanted to know what they look like swatched. But unfortunately, they're glitters, and I don't do glitters. So, Notoriously Morbid, if you're listening, maybe I just gave you some idea, please. And then they're also releasing this Emotional Flush Blush and Highlighter palette. I'm already mentioned about what I feel about blushes. I don't need them. So moving on. Okay, let me talk about this because this is a collab and I love talking about collabs. Even if I'm on a no buy, even if I'm not going to buy things, it's always exciting to see collaborations out there. And this is between the Mop Beauty, which is a super popular brand that I didn't really know about until very recently, and Jessica Hayes. So not my type of thing because not colorful enough for me. Also, I'm on a no buy, but congrats. As I say it all the time, it's always exciting to see collabs with other creators. The Mop Beauty, I believe, is available on Beautylish. Let me use BH Base Booster. I'm gonna use it at the center here. Beauties, this is actually one of my favorite colors in this palette because it's so versatile and shimmery and shifty and beautiful, which is Elsa. It's a purple to a teal to a blue, but unfortunately I don't think you all can see all the shifts. I'm gonna put a video of this look on Instagram. Maybe the shifts show up on that reel, so definitely check out my Instagram page if you are curious to see the shifts. The link to my Instagram is in the description box below. It's very interesting for me because I have a lot of multichromes, but I don't see a dupe of this color very often. So good job, Micka Beauty Shop. And I feel like I'm good. I feel like anything else I do is gonna be a little bit overkill. So I think my eye look is done. We only have a few left to talk about. Let's talk about Ladybug Glow. The palette's called Creatura. And to be honest with you, the color story is different. So I give it to Ladybug Glow, but I can dupe this. I have so many palettes nowadays that have these kinds of cool toned colors. So not for me. The palette does have 2 multichromes. And then Micka Beauty Shop, which we just used, and we use them because they're releasing a few things, so let's talk about it. The first one is this one, liquid eyeshadows. They're dropping in the middle of February. I know myself, and I rarely use liquid eyeshadows. They usually become patchy on my eyes. I actually feel like it's the same situation with what is happening with this one. So don't really see myself wanting to try these, and if I try them, it's just to review them. Why do that when I'm on a no buy, right? So moving on. And the next thing is that they are revealing a palette, and they have revealed just one shade so far. Beautiful shade, but I think I have dupes of this shade. I feel like I have a dupe of pretty much any shade that's gonna release. It will be hard for me to not have a dupe of something that's releasing. The name of the palette is One Last Wish. It hasn't been revealed, but I have a feeling I can probably dupe it, so probably not for me. Beauties, we have 2 more things. Let's talk about this one. We briefly talked about it at Depths. Next palette, Flying Fiddles. They had mentioned it's going to be mostly neutral, so I was thinking something in the variation of Xenon, maybe something similar to what Kaleidos released, because they also had an outer packaging that was kind of like this. But they mentioned that it is inspired by Siberian Iris, which is yellow and blue, and now I am very curious. Frankly, I can't wait for the reveal. I might have weak knees and weak ankles for this one, but fingers crossed that I can remain strong and not break my no buy, and if I feel like I need to buy it, it would happen after April. And beauties, this is our last. Shine by SD is releasing new things. I rarely talk about them because they're very expensive, and I recognize not everybody can afford but they are one of my favorite brands because they have some of the most unique shades in my collection. They do singles. They do sales, and I recommend you purchase things at sales. If you get on their newsletter, they do 24-hour sales every once in a while. But frankly, even with the sale, they can be pretty pricey. So I understand the concern, but their shades are super unique and you don't really get similar things to that. At least I haven't seen in other brands, because, you know, I mentioned even earlier in this video that there are some brands where the quality, I'm like, if I have it in one brand, I don't need to buy something very similar in another brand. They're probably going to be the same. But that's not the case with Shine by Estie. They are releasing this duochrome collection of 17 new duochromes on February 2nd. I can't wait to see swatches and all of that of these colors, but I don't have any need for anything from them. I did purchase from them on Black Friday and I've received those, and until I use them enough times, I don't need to buy anything new. I'm just excited about the releases, you know, because they are a brand that I know I'm probably going to buy something from this year. Not during my no buy, but later. They're also releasing, guess what? More hollows. Now, we don't really need hollows anymore, but I can't deny these look like pastel hollows, and I'm curious to see how they swatch like. Particularly that lower row in the photo. Yeah, this one is also releasing on the same day, February 2nd. So I'm super excited just to, you know, watch it. But we don't need, and we're not buying. And beauties, this is the complete look. I put a little bit of Atlantic City from Ofra on my lips. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. If you like these kinds of new makeup release videos, I have a whole playlist of them. It's going to be recommended to you at the end of this video if you stay till the end. Have an amazing day, and until next time, bye!